Most people believe that saying yes makes them generous, noble, good. They collect obligations like badges of honor, proof of their virtue displayed for the world to see. But here is what they will never tell you in the self-help books and the corporate workshops. Chronic agreement is not generosity. It is cowardice dressed in martyrdom's clothing. Consider the man who cannot refuse his colleagues. Every request lands on his desk. Every emergency becomes his responsibility. He stays late, arrives early, sacrifices weekends on the altar of being needed. He tells himself he is being a team player, a good person, indispensable. But watch what happens over time. His work suffers because he has stretched himself across too many battles. His family forgets his face. His health deteriorates. And the people he sought to please? They do not respect him more. They respect him less. Because deep in the human psyche, we understand this truth. A person who cannot defend their own boundaries cannot defend anything that matters. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. But before you can move obstacles, you must first stop allowing yourself to become one. Your unchecked compliance becomes the very barrier to your own progress. The yes man builds his own prison one agreement at a time. A boundary is not a wall. It is a statement of value. Your attention is the most finite resource you possess, more limited than money, more precious than time itself. Because time will pass regardless, but attention, focused, undivided attention, this you must consciously allocate. And every yes you speak is a contract written in this currency. The average person treats their attention like an infinite resource. They hand it out freely, carelessly, as though the well will never run dry. They say yes to meetings that could have been emails, yes to projects that drain their spirit, yes to relationships that extract more than they provide. And then they wonder why they feel empty, why they lie awake at night with the haunting sensation that they are living someone else's life. There was a woman, let us call her Sarah, who worked in consulting. Brilliant mind, relentless work ethic. She said yes to every client, every request, every opportunity that presented itself. She believed this was the path to success. More projects meant more visibility. More visibility meant more advancement. But here is what happened instead. She became known not as an expert, but as available. Not as selective, but as desperate. Her yes became worthless because it was guaranteed. And when she finally landed in the hospital with exhaustion at 34, the clients she had sacrificed everything for replaced her within a week. The marketplace respects scarcity. Not the artificial scarcity of playing hard to get, but the genuine scarcity of someone who knows their worth. When you say no to most things, your yes becomes valuable. It becomes an event. People do not take it for granted because they know it is not freely given. Machiavelli observed that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But there is a deeper truth here. It is better to be respected than needed. Need creates dependency. Respect creates value. And respect is impossible without boundaries. Your yes means nothing if your no does not exist. Let us examine the machinery of your compliance. The engine that drives the constant yes. It is not generosity. It is fear. Fear dressed in elaborate justifications, but fear nonetheless. You fear disappointing others. You fear being seen as difficult, selfish, ungrateful. You fear the withdrawal of affection, the loss of opportunity, the judgment in their eyes. You fear that if you say no, they will discover what you secretly suspect about yourself. That you are not as important as you pretend to be. That you are replaceable, forgettable, unnecessary. This fear is ancient. It lives in the part of your brain that remembers when exile from the tribe meant death, when disapproval was not merely uncomfortable but lethal. Your ancestors survived by conforming, by agreeing, by being useful to the group. And so this instinct runs deep, coded into your nervous system like an operating system you never chose to install. But here is the paradox. The very behavior designed to keep you safe now makes you vulnerable. Your inability to say no transforms you from a person into a resource, from a human being into a utility. You become functionally invisible, noticed only when needed, forgotten the moment the need passes. Psychology reveals this pattern in the research on people-pleasing behavior. Studies show that chronic people-pleasers report higher rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout. They have more health problems, more relationship difficulties, lower life satisfaction. The very strategy they employ to be loved makes them miserable. Because you cannot build authentic connection on the foundation of self-betrayal. There is a story the ancient philosophers told of a man who sought to be everyone's friend. He agreed with every opinion. He adapted to every personality. He molded himself to every situation. And one day, looking in the mirror, he found he no longer had a face of his own. He had become a reflection of everyone else's desires, a hollow echo chamber with no substance inside. The only thing more dangerous than being hated for who you are is being loved for who you are not. Now we arrive at the practical architecture. How does one who has spent years in automatic agreement begin to build the capacity for no? Understand first that saying no is a skill. Like any skill, it requires practice. It feels awkward at first, unnatural. Your body will resist. Your throat will tighten. Your heart will race. This is not weakness. This is your nervous system encountering unfamiliar territory. You are rewriting code that has run for decades. Begin with the small no's, the dinner invitation when you need rest, the favor that would cost you time you have already allocated, the meeting that serves no purpose. Start here, in the low-stakes arena, because you are building muscle. Each no strengthens the neural pathway. Each boundary you defend makes the next one easier. But here is the critical distinction. A no does not require justification. Most people, when they attempt to refuse, immediately launch into elaborate explanations. They apologize profusely. They over-explain. They seek permission for their boundaries. This is the people-pleaser's instinct, still running the show. They believe that if they justify themselves sufficiently, the other person will grant them the right to refuse. But you do not need anyone's permission to have boundaries. A simple, direct no, delivered without apology, is complete. I cannot commit to that. That does not work for me. I am not available. These statements stand on their own. They require no defense. Watch what happens when you stop explaining yourself. Some people will push back. They will ask why. They will seem confused, even offended. This is a test. They are checking whether your no is real or negotiable. Hold your ground. The people who respect boundaries will accept your answer. The people who do not were never interested in your well-being anyway. There is profound power in the pause. When someone makes a request, you do not owe them an immediate answer. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. I need to think about that. These phrases buy you space to consult your actual priorities rather than your reflexive fear. Most people say yes, not because they want to, but because they are afraid of the silence that follows no. The ancient practice of negative visualization serves you here. The Stoics would imagine the worst possible outcomes of their decisions. Apply this to your boundaries. What is the actual worst-case scenario if you say no? They might be disappointed. They might judge you. They might withdraw some measure of approval. And then what? Will you die? Will the earth cease spinning? Or will you simply be uncomfortable for a moment while someone processes their own reaction? Discomfort is not danger. The feeling of guilt is not evidence of wrongdoing. Here is what they do not tell you about boundaries. They do not push people away. They attract the right people closer. When you begin to say no, you will lose some relationships. This is not a failure. This is a revelation. The people who disappear when you establish boundaries were never connected to you. They were connected to your compliance, to your availability, to your usefulness. These were transactional relationships disguised as connections. You have not lost anything real. You have simply removed the disguise, but simultaneously, something else happens. The people who respect you will respect you more. The relationships built on genuine connection will deepen, because now you are present as yourself, not as a performing version of yourself designed to please. Authenticity, real authenticity, creates magnetic attraction. Not universal attraction. You are not trying to appeal to everyone. but deep attraction from those who resonate with your truth. Consider the mathematics of this. When you say yes to everything, you are present for nothing. Your energy is fragmented across 100 obligations, spread so thin that you cannot show up fully for anything. But when you say no to 90% of requests, you can say yes with your entire being to the remaining 10%. You can be exceptional rather than adequate, transformative rather than merely present. This is the transformation paradox. By doing less, you become more. By refusing more, you contribute more. By narrowing your focus, you expand your impact. There was a surgeon who understood this principle. Early in his career, he performed every type of surgery. He was competent, reliable, adequate. Then he made a decision. He would focus on one specific, complex procedure. He said no to everything else. Other surgeons called him crazy. Patients questioned his commitment. But within 5 years, he became the world's foremost expert in that single procedure. People traveled across continents to access his skill, not because he did more, but because he did less with complete mastery. The principle applies beyond professional life, in relationships, in creative work, in how you spend your evenings. The person who says yes to every social invitation has acquaintances. The person who selectively says yes has friends, real friends. The kind who know you, not just your availability. Excellence is not addition, it is elimination. We must address the deeper architecture underlying chronic agreement, the belief that you are not enough. That who you are, what you offer, what you bring, that it is inherently insufficient. So you compensate, you overgive. You bend yourself into shapes that betray your nature, all in the desperate hope that your usefulness will substitute for your worthiness. This is the lie that drives the machine, and it is a lie with deep cultural roots. You have been trained since childhood to believe that your value is conditional, that love must be earned, that acceptance requires performance. Do well in school, behave properly. Do not make waves, be good, be helpful, be nice. But nice is not the same as good. Nice is agreement without regard for truth. Nice is the smile that hides resentment. Nice is the yes that betrays the self. Goodness, real goodness, requires the courage to disappoint, to speak truth even when it is unwelcome, to refuse participation in what violates your integrity. The philosophy of enough begins with this recognition. You are already whole, not broken and seeking completion through others' approval, not insufficient and requiring validation through utility. Whole, complete, exactly as you are, in this moment, without needing to earn your place at the table. This is not arrogance. This is the opposite of arrogance. Arrogance inflates the self through comparison and superiority. This is simple recognition of inherent human dignity. You have worth not because of what you do, but because of what you are. And when you truly understand this, the compulsion to constantly prove yourself through compliance dissolves. The Buddhists speak of attachment as the root of suffering. But there is a particular attachment that destroys from within. Attachment to being perceived as good, to being liked, to being approved of. This attachment makes you a hostage to others' opinions, constantly adjusting your behavior based on their reactions, living in response rather than from center. Freedom comes when you release this attachment. When you understand that some people will dislike you regardless of what you do, that you cannot control their perceptions, that their disappointment in your boundaries is their responsibility, not yours. This is not callousness. This is liberation. You cannot hate yourself into being loved. You cannot abandon yourself into being accepted. There is a dimension to refusal that transcends psychology and strategy, something almost spiritual, though that word carries too much baggage. Let us call it the sacred no, the boundary that protects not just your time or energy, but your soul. You have essential work to do in this life. Not your job, though it might include your job. Not your obligations, though you may have legitimate obligations, but work that is uniquely yours. The contribution only you can make. The art only you can create. The love only you can give. The problems only you can solve. This essential work requires protection. It requires the fierce, uncompromising no that guards the space where this work happens, because the world will consume you if you let it. It will fill every available moment with urgency, with noise, with demands that feel important but serve nothing essential. The writer who cannot say no to social obligations never writes the book. The entrepreneur who cannot say no to opportunities that distract from the core mission builds nothing of value. The parent who cannot say no to work demands after hours raises children who know them only as an absence. The sacred no protects the sacred yes. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the known world, wrote in his private journals, "Confine yourself to the present." Not as a meditation teacher or spiritual guru, but as a man drowning in obligations, recognizing that his sanity depended on his ability to refuse the majority of demands on his attention. If the Emperor of Rome needed this practice, what makes you think you do not? There is a particular kind of person the world desperately needs right now. Not the person who agrees with everything, not the person who goes along to get along, but the person who has the courage to stand in their truth, who can look at the mass of humanity flowing in one direction and say, "Not me, not today." Who can resist the gravitational pull of groupthink and collective agreement, and speak the difficult word that everyone is thinking, but no one will say. This person is not contrary for the sake of being contrary. They are not reflexively oppositional, but they have done the internal work to know themselves, to distinguish between the voice of authentic intuition and the voice of conditioned fear. And when those voices align in refusal, they honor that refusal as sacred. The most radical act in a world that demands your compliance is to belong to yourself. Think forward to the end of your life. You are looking back across the years, assessing what mattered. What will you remember? You will not remember the meetings you attended out of obligation, the favors you provided while resenting them, the relationships you maintained despite them draining you. These will blur into a gray mass of time spent but not lived. You will remember the moments you were fully present, the work you did that aligned with your deepest values, the people you loved with your whole heart because you had the energy to love them properly, the risks you took because you had the space to take them, the impact you made because you focused your attention rather than fragmenting it. But here is the deeper inheritance, the example you leave, because people are watching, your children are watching, your colleagues are watching, your friends are watching, and they are learning from you what is possible, what is acceptable, what it means to live with integrity. When you model chronic compliance, you teach them that their boundaries do not matter, that other people's needs always supersede their own, that self-betrayal is the price of belonging. You create a legacy of people-pleasing that will ripple through generations. But when you model healthy boundaries, when you demonstrate that no is a complete sentence, when you show them that you can refuse and still be loving, decline and still be generous, disappoint and still be good, you give them permission to do the same. You break a cycle that perhaps has run through your family for generations. You become the ancestor who said, "It stops here, with me." There is a particular kind of courage required for this. Not the courage of the battlefield or the podium, but the quiet, daily courage of living according to your own compass rather than others' expectations. The courage to sit with the discomfort of someone's disappointment. The courage to trust that the right people will understand. The courage to believe that you are worth defending. This courage is not innate. You are not born with it. You build it. One no at a time. One boundary defended. One uncomfortable conversation survived. Each instance proves to your nervous system that you can do this. That refusal is not death. That disappointing others is survivable. That on the other side of no is not isolation, but integrity. The greatest gift you can give another person is the example of someone who belongs to themselves. So here you stand, at the crossroads between the life you have been living and the life that becomes possible when you learn to say no. Between the person you have been pretending to be and the person you actually are. The path forward is simple. Not easy, but simple. You begin to tell the truth. Not the harsh truth designed to wound, but the simple truth of your actual capacity, your real desires, your genuine limitations. You begin to honor the wisdom of your no as much as you have honored others' yes. You will make mistakes. You will refuse things you later wish you had accepted. You will accept things you should have refused. This is not failure. This is learning. You are developing discernment, and discernment requires practice. But over time, something shifts. You begin to recognize the sensation of authentic yes versus obligatory yes. You develop the capacity to pause before responding. You build trust in your own judgment. And gradually, imperceptibly at first, then undeniably, your life begins to reflect your actual values rather than others' expectations. This is not selfishness. This is self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation upon which all genuine contribution is built. You cannot give from an empty well. You cannot love from a depleted heart. You cannot serve the world from a life of quiet desperation. The power of saying no is not the power to push people away. It is the power to pull your life into alignment with your truth, to create space for what matters, to protect what is sacred, to become who you actually are rather than who you think you should be. And in the end, this is the only power that matters. Not power over others, but power over yourself. Not the ability to control circumstances, but the ability to choose your response. Not the capacity to do everything, but the wisdom to know what is yours to do. The world will always want more from you than you can give. This is not a problem to solve. This is the permanent condition of existence. The question is not how to meet every demand, but which demands deserve the gift of your finite attention. Choose carefully. Choose consciously. Choose in alignment with who you are and who you are becoming. Your no is not a rejection of others. It is a commitment to yourself. And that commitment is the foundation of everything else that matters.